Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ridiculously Serious, a show where we draft teams from absolutely ridiculous categories and have a completely serious debate about them. My name is Mike, and I'll be your host. Last episode, my co-host told you a little bit about themselves, but let's find out some more. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Going great.
Why don't you tell me what is your all-time favorite movie?
All right, I got a three-way tie between Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, and Rogue One, A Star Wars Story.
That seems like a reasonable tie. Seems to make sense. All
They're
right.
good.
And then
How am I just now finding that out?
I love Star Wars. Yeah.
And then we have Brandy. Brandy, why don't you tell us what your favorite food is?
I would literally commit arson for a lifetime supply of any type of shellfish.
Any type of shellfish, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, Joe.
That's not where I saw that going, I have to say. Like, I've never heard somebody feel so strongly about shellfish.
I love it.
Commit a crime.
If you're willing to commit arson for some shellfish, I think you're being kind of selfish. I tried my best.
I don't think,
everybody have a good night.
Yeah, I don't think I would.
Here.
I can't give that one a pass, I don't think.
No.
I think we just
pause the recording so you can find another person to be on the show.
I think we just move on quickly. All right. Now it's the time of the show where I reveal the results of last week's episode. If you missed it, we argued about which 20th century song titles would be the worst to start a eulogy with. It was brilliantly terrible. Without further ado, the winner of the eulogy draft by a single vote, it was a very, very close vote, by one single vote, the person who should never be asked to give a eulogy is Joe.
Yes!
Joe with the eulogy draft win.
Congratulations.
All right.
Congratulations to Joe. The 1 point was over Brandy. Brandy had a very solid showing after her first week victory. She almost defended the crown.
Yeah.
Almost defended the crown.
Close.
So, Mike, you need to step up your game this week, man.
Listen, I knew you were going to say that as soon as I announced the results. And I have to say, I've always taken a lot of pride in the fact that my way of thinking is so different from everybody else. So, like, I'm almost in a way glad that I've come in last both weeks. Like, it almost makes me happy that I'm like, yeah, I'm out there on my own. I'm doing my own thing, you know? Like,
it reinforces your uniqueness.
I will say, I feel like, the first week was a toss-up because that was just chaos. But I feel like last week, my answers were definitely, like, the most out there. Like, they were, like, the wackiest.
Oh, yeah,
so
sure.
I think that kind of makes sense that people were like, I don't know any of the songs he said, so I'm going to go with the other people.
Yeah, yours weren't like the most well-known songs.
They were I went more for title, where I feel like you guys went more for like known songs. So obviously that worked.
For story.
Sure. I mean, listen, I'm not saying it's a bad thing because you guys came in first and second, so what the hell do I know, right? So we can move on now. It's time to get going on today's episode, which is best animals to bring on a blind date. Now, there are a few qualifications to this week's topic. Also, I just want to say real quick, I ran that topic by my cousin because my cousin's been listening to the podcast. And, he was interested to know what was coming next. And I said I had a few ideas, and I ran it by him. I said, I was thinking about best animals to bring on a blind date. And I was like, there could be some fun with that. And he's like, yeah, it definitely can. He's like, is it going to be a first date?
It's a blind date.
Yeah, I was just going to let that one. I was just going to let that silence linger there. No, it's a blind fourth date. It's been you guys are moving real slow.
You could be blindfolded.
Blind.
You're taking it real slow. Like,
well, hold on. You could have phone dates.
I guess that's true. I guess it's not as ridiculous as a question, but I feel like I just came up with a business idea where like you start a dating company where like the first like 10 dates are all blind date. Like you don't see each other at all. Like you go in some kind of dark room or like you wear a blindfold or so you only get to know the person without seeing them like physically.
There's like 6 reality TV shows.
All right.
That. It's 2021. COVID just happened. They had to come up with a way
foiled
to
again.
keep people apart.
All my $1 million ideas just Down the tube.
I'm so sorry.
Hey,
Sorry to break
at
that.
least you know you have great ideas. They're just
Yeah.
not original.
Yeah, exactly.
You
There you
just
go.
didn't think of it soon enough for Netflix to pick it up.
I just Googled it and I say these things to sound smart, and then I'm like, oh no, somebody thought of it already. Oh no.
I had an elementary school substitute teacher who every year would tell us that she invented categories like decades before Hasbro or Milton Bradley came out with it, and she just never patented the idea or anything. And she's like, they're making millions off of my idea.
That's very unfortunate for her. I feel her pain.
It's terrible.
All right, so the qualifications to this week's topic. So again, best animals to bring on a blind date. So it's just a little bit too much of a mouthful to put all the the rules and stuff into the title. So there are 5 rules or 5 qualifications that let the viewer understand what we're going for, or the listener. Number 1, this date is occurring in a park that has every type of habitat available. So there are no limitations on what kind of animals can exist at this park. It's like, a magical park where everything can survive. They have their habitat. I should also note that my co-hosts are not finding out these rules right now. They were made aware in advance of everything I'm about to say, just for, fairness sake. Number 2, these animals are not tame. You're just taking them straight out of their habitats and into the park. So if you want to interact with a tiger, for example, there's probably a good chance it eats you. So keep that in mind. Probably wouldn't be the best first date. Not really something you want to happen. Number 3, your date does not have to interact with the animal if they don't want to. So if you pick, some kind of extreme animal, there is a chance that you're doing it alone, which means you're probably not getting a second date. Remember, this week we're going for best, not the worst. So you are probably trying to, I feel like saying the best also means there's going to be a chance of a second date. Is really kind of how you'd score that. Number 4, if a specific type of animal is chosen, that rules out the entire species for everyone. So just as an example, if somebody were to choose a golden retriever, no one else could pick any other kind of dog. Now, we did talk before the episode, and there might be some leniency on that for things like birds or something if it's a very different, type. So we're going to kind of confer about that during the draft. And then speaking of number 5, no cats or dogs. Too obvious, too easy. No cats or dogs. We were doing a little outside the box thinking required for this episode. So that is how this draft is going to work. Those are the rules. This episode will be the first one to feature 4 rounds. We're going to go 4 rounds for this draft. But let's figure out the draft order. So seeing as how I've won the number guessing the first 2 weeks, and I'm the one running the random generator, I've decided to avoid any potential controversy that Joe might bring up in the next 30 seconds if I win again. And I'm going to have Joe run it this week, just so everybody knows that everything is on the level. You got to make sure this is fair after all. That's, integrity is the number one most important part of our show. So Joe has the random number generator. So first we will give the numbers that we've written down. So I'm going to kick things off. We've had a couple of middle ones, I feel like. So I'm going to kick it off with a 91. I'm going up there. I'm going to try to hit it on the head. So 91 from me. Brandy?
I am actually going with 13 this time because I wanted to last time.
Oh,
but Joe did
Joe's
13,
number.
and it's my lucky number as well.
Well,
So I'm going 13 this week.
All right, so I was gonna do 13
Again?
because- yeah, I was just gonna keep doing 13 over and over again. But you know what? Since you guys are polar opposites, I'm gonna go right in the middle, and I'm gonna go with 51.
I don't think that's in the middle between 1 and 100. I think 50 is.
50 is, but Brandy picked 13, and you picked 91.
I know.
So we're weighted slightly more towards the end. So I just bumped it up 1 number.
I'm only messing with you. All right, so we got the numbers. Hit us with that generator, Joe.
Oh man, Mike, you won again.
Yes.
Oh my
78.
Let's go. Oh, I am on fire.
78.
Listen, I might not be winning the drafts, but I'm winning the numbers. So that's really, at the end of the day, what's more important.
Yeah, 2-0 with the random number generator, and 0-2 with
Three.
the actual skill game.
3-0.
3-0.
That's called a three-peat.
Yeah, a hat trick, if you will.
You should have weighted your middle number slightly more towards the upper end.
I would have had to come up to like 60-ish,
66, I think. 66 would have been the
66 would have been. So yeah.
All right. So that leaves me once again with the tough decision of picking first, Joe second, Brandy third, for picking for the order. I'm going to take the wraparound this week. I'm going to go 3-4. So I'll take pick 3.
I was hoping for the wraparound, but I'm going to go with the second slot again. I'm going to give Brandy. I don't think you haven't had the first slot, right?
Well, let's find out. Brandy, what pick do you want?
The one that I don't want, that I'm left with now, is the first slot. I hate going first.
Well, as much as you hate it, you're doing it. So you can go ahead and kick us off. I think first pick's actually decent to have in this draft, though, because I was going over my list and it was tough. It was tough. I think we're gonna have a lot of overlap.
Yeah. All right. I'm trying to decide which one I should go with first, based on the ones that I think you are all gonna have first. It might rule them out for me.
Makes sense.
Right. So, on this blind date, I'm just going to go and order my list here. Are multiples of the same animal?
Yeah. It can be any number of the animal.
Are insects considered animals?
Are they alive?
Yes.
There you go.
Right.
Well, I guess plants are technically alive, but yes, insects are considered animals.
Okay, so for blind date purposes,
it's also a weird start. Starting with insects?
No, but to make a good impression, some type of pretty container filled with fireflies to put on the table for your dinner, you know?
Oh,
just
so
like
you're doing a little dinner in the park with the okay.
Yeah.
I didn't think of it like that at all. I did not go in that direction at all. So that could be big for you, honestly. That you went in a totally different thought pattern with it.
I can't claim this one entirely because I didn't come up with this one, but I loved it so much that I had to use it.
I think it's a good pick. It makes sense.
Yeah. All right, Joe. Get this off me.
This
Go.
might be
Your turn.
This might be the first time in history that Fireflies was ever the first pick for anything. For anything. Not even a draft, just literally anything.
Sure. All right. So for my first pick, I was really hoping for the wraparound slot because I wanted to get a feel for what you guys were doing first, but at least I've got something. It was not at all what I expected from Brandy going first.
Me neither.
I'm going to go with little baby piglets.
All right. Oh, you scared me there.
Oh yeah,
you scared me there, but it's a good choice.
So piglets are really, really gentle, and they actually will come up and nibble on you. And I found this out because I took my wife to meet piglets when we were dating, and I have a video of her being as happy as I've ever seen her, including on our wedding day, just petting these baby pigs. And in the video, the woman there is like, be careful. They'll nibble on you a little bit. And my wife looks up and goes, oh, they could bite my hand off and I'd be okay with it. They're super cute, super friendly. And I think it would be not only advantageous, as just being a cute, fun thing, but anyone that's not going to want to pet a pig, I won't want to go on another date with. So I think it would help me whittle down. I kind of did this for some of mine. I took into account would I want to potentially go on another date with this person based on their reaction to this animal?
Yep.
So
I was the same. I have a couple on my list that are same line of thought. Quick question.
Yeah.
Would you say that your wife on that date was as happy as a pig in mud?
She was as happy as a pig in mud.
See, that's how you do a pun style joke, Joe.
No,
that's how you. No, that one was. I'm ignoring you because that one was a solid 9 out of 10. It was topical. It was relevant, which I'm pretty sure just means topical. So, I couldn't think of anything else. So,
Solid.
yeah, no, I think that's a great pick. I absolutely had pig on my list. I had just pig in general. I like going piglets. But that's definitely a good first round pick.
Well, pigs can literally bite your hand off pretty easily.
But they don't. They're pretty.
They get giant.
Yeah, but they're pretty. Pigs are excellent pets. I've heard from multiple people that pigs are excellent pets. They're really affectionate. Pigs are great. So I will make my first pick, and you will see why I was very nervous when you made yours. Because when I was deciding which pick to take, I really wanted the third pick for actually the exact same reason you said, which was to get an idea of what you guys were doing. And I thought 3-4 was going to be really good. But I was nervous because I had one pick that I really, really wanted. I had one pick that I think could have been first overall. And I thought you were about to say it. And that is penguins. Little penguins. Yeah. Have you ever seen penguins? You ever seen the little African penguins at the zoo? The little ones, they run. Oh my God, they're adorable.
So, I was at an aquarium earlier today for my wife's birthday, and we did in fact see penguins in multiple spots at this aquarium.
Yeah, penguins are actually the cutest thing ever. For anybody who loves penguins on YouTube, there's a live cam of the Kansas City Zoo of their penguin enclosure, and I've spent hours. I put that on the YouTube on my Fire TV while I'm doing stuff around the house, and just once in a while glance up at the penguins swimming around and stuff. It's great. I can't take full credit for that though, because while it was on my list, it was my wife that put it over the top of no, you have to pick penguins. They're freaking adorable. That's your first pick.
Yeah, it was almost my first pick. I was debating between penguins and pigs. And I'm pretty bummed I did the opposite order.
Not to make you feel worse, but I would not have picked. While I did have pigs on my list, I wouldn't have picked them one or two, so you would have gotten both.
Darn. So, all right, well,
I'm very glad that. I'm very glad you went that direction. All right, so I got penguins. So that's the cuteness. That's for my date. That's something to make them happy, to kind of impress them. Now I'm going one for me. Now I'm going one down the selfish route. And it also falls under what Joe said, which is not necessarily that I wouldn't date this person, because this is kind of an extreme thing. So even if they didn't like it, didn't want to do it, I would still, go on a second date if we had fun. But if they did like this, it would be a huge boost. If they did like this, then I'd go on a second date with them almost no matter what. And that would be hammerhead sharks. So I think Joe knows this. I don't think Brandy does. I free swam. I had a chance. I free swam with sharks in St. Thomas when I was there on vacation. I tried to get my wife to do it with me, but when they came out with the stack of papers that you have to sign so that if your hand gets bitten off, you can't sue them, she was like, yeah, no, I'm out. So I ended up going in by myself, but I free swam with Caribbean reef sharks, lemon sharks, and nurse sharks. And it was just the absolute coolest experience of my life. I can't even describe what it's like to be in the water with them. And hammerhead is the top of my list. I think those are the coolest. Just the evolution that went into hammerhead sharks is insane. And they're so unique, and they're talked about as arguably the most intelligent shark. So being in the water with them and just kind of seeing how they interact and what they do, it would be a dream. So went the little selfish route on that one.
I saw hammerhead sharks today, and I learned something that almost all of shark attacks on humans in recorded history have been great whites, tiger sharks, or one other one.
Bull shark.
Oh, bull shark. Yeah, that's it. So hammerheads and other sharks that black fins.
Other sharks.
I don't really know. But yeah, there's just almost no recorded attacks. So free swimming with them, while it may seem super super scary, it's only just super scary.
But that's it. So if she would get in too, then that would be that would really put her over the top.
Sure. Yeah.
I did think about swimming with sharks for the blind date in general, because I was like, that's a cool idea, but I was like, that's also very terrifying and would probably drive someone away. But I didn't think about it in terms of if I'm also on the date.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
did
That's
not think about that part of it. I was like, well, I'm trying to make a good impression,
sure.
being, showing up and immediately being like, I'm putting you in danger, probably not making a great impression. So I left it off my
Yeah,
list.
I mean that's perfectly reasonable. I went with it because, like I said, there is a chance that this
Yeah.
date is going to be terrible anyway. So at least
Yeah.
I would have gotten to swim the sharks. Like at least I would have got something out of the date.
Makes
So,
sense.
but yeah, so those are my back-to-back picks. I'm happy. I got my number 1 and 2, so I'm pretty happy with that. So Joe, you're up for your second pick, which cannot be penguins.
Yes, would have been, but I'm going to go with a different water-esque creature. I'm actually pretty surprised this didn't get picked. I thought it was going to get picked right away, so I kind of put it down on my list just in case, because I thought I was going to knock it off. But I'm going to go with dolphins.
Sure. I figured that was coming soon.
Super smart animals. Usually they have, they're a lot of their activities are very interesting to watch, even if it's just like swimming around. They're super sleek, and even if they're like not like the trained ones that we typically see, they're still doing things like breaching out of the water, coming up, and they're very, very friendly, not dangerous in any sense. And just think like, oh yeah, petting dolphins, like that's like a really cool thing to do. I think this is where the first one is like, oh, they're cute and adorable. This one would just be more fun to watch because they're so you probably haven't seen dolphins in real life too many times, and more of a a new experience for most people.
Yeah, I mean you can definitely interact with them too. Not even just watching them, you can definitely interact with them.
It's not putting your date in danger version of swimming with sharks.
Sure.
Exactly,
Swimming with dolphins.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I've heard some stories about dolphins.
Which, fun fact, if I'm remembering correctly, which is weirdly relevant here, kind of, the Owl City, who wrote Fireflies, I do believe their old band name before they became Owl City was Swimming with Dolphins.
Okay. So they really like animals. Because all their stuff is
Owl
animal
City,
related.
Firefly,
Uh-huh.
Swimming with Dolphins.
So if anyone has Owl on their list, we can just blast that song at the end of the podcast just to close it out.
Please don't. It's like they're like a bad version of the Postal Service.
Yeah.
I
guess that's a long shot.
All right, Brandy, you now have back-to-back picks.
Yes, I do. I forgot that is what that meant.
Yep.
I got my next one ready, and not so much the one after that, but I will go for it. So my definite next pick is going to be baby goats.
Okay.
Because the first thing that came to my mind, I don't know if you've ever seen this, when people do goat yoga. Where they do yoga with baby goats, and they kind of, if you're doing your downward facing dog, they'll like put the goats on your back and they just kind of like hop all over and run around. It's real cute.
I've never heard of that. It's
actually,
I feel
like that could be the date itself.
It's so funny getting the different perspective, because obviously we have two guys, and a girl on this podcast, where the two guys were like, let's just watch animals do cool stuff, and the girl was like, how can I make these animals part of the date? I don't know if that's a guy versus girl thing. We have a very small sample size, but it is just kind of funny that it worked out that way, that you were the one who went like above and beyond, like mentally, to like, how can I put these animals into the actual date? How can I make them a part of it?
We actually thought about doing goat yoga for my father-in-law last year. We ended up realizing that he probably wouldn't like the yoga aspect, so we just took him to a goat farm, and it was a very enjoyable experience. Goats were on my list, but pigs were higher, so they got the farm animal pick for me.
Yeah,
gotta categorize. I like it.
Oh right, so I forgot I have another one in a row.
You do have another one.
I'm hesitant to go with this one, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. Oh, we only have 4, huh?
4 rounds to this draft. Yep, we're slicing it down 1 from 5 from the previous couple weeks.
Okay, I think I'm actually gonna go with raccoon.
Raccoon?
Yeah, just to kind of like, if you're having a dinner date or a lunch date or some kind of picnic, they're pretty cute, Not,
little trash pandas?
Yeah, they're cute to have around and play with, and you've seen videos of people like petting them and handling them when they're not uh dangerous.
When they
And
don't have rabies.
yeah,
Yeah.
and my thought process was like, if you don't eat all of your food, it won't go to waste because you can just give it to the raccoons. They'll take all of it. They eat trash, so it'll be safe to give to them.
So you're on the most practical animal involved first
Yeah.
date like of all time, basically.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
If there's been other animal involved first dates.
I'm sure there have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure there have. Maybe not in this sense, but
Yeah.
I'm sure there have. No, that's good. I mean, I definitely think this is the week where you are different. Like, I think last week I differed from you two, and now I think this week you're differing from me and Joe pretty heavily.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. But I think you're putting together a solid lineup so far. We'll see if you could finish it off with that last pick. Finish strong. But Joe, you have your third round pick now.
Yeah, so I don't know if you noticed, but I did farm animal, a mammal. I did a sea creature, which I think is also a mammal. Dolphins,
yes,
probably. Okay, yeah, I thought so. But a sea creature nonetheless. We're gonna go over with reptiles now, and I kind of wanted to think a little bit outside. Like I think like snake would come up pretty often, but I didn't want to pick that one.
Same.
So what I went with was a giant tortoise.
Okay.
And the way I thought about this, kind of doing what Brandy's doing with hers, thinking about how to integrate the tortoise into the date, and think about like a giant tortoise. They kind of meander around, and that's like a good thing to do in a park. Just take a little walk around, and if the tortoise stops to grab a bite of some delicious grass to eat, you can just sit down and chill there for a while, lay down in the grass, look at the clouds, whatever, and just kind of let the tortoise guide you through the date.
So are you walking by the tortoise and just following it, or are you sitting on the tortoise and it's like your chauffeur?
You're not sitting on the tortoise. You're walking with it.
Well, you said it's a giant tortoise. I don't know how giant this tortoise is.
You're letting it set
the pace. Not that
pace.
giant. You don't want to carry two grown human beings.
Well, the way you were describing it, I thought you were like getting a giant tortoise and like throwing like a rug like over its shell or something. You were like getting a glass of wine and like laying on the rug while it just walked around.
To be fair, I did Google animals that can be ridden to try to give myself some ideas, and a photo did come up of a small child riding a tortoise. So I thought about putting it on my list.
So you Googled animals that could be ridden, and you've chosen fireflies, baby goats, and raccoons.
Yeah.
Okay.
0
I
like it.
Yeah.
Definitely please don't ride any of those. Don't try to ride any of those. Giant tortoise. I like that one. I would not. I didn't have tortoise on my list. I would not have thought that direction, but I do understand what you're saying about like incorporating it. Like Brandon was saying, just kind of using it as like a guide. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. So now I actually, because we're going 4 rounds this week, I have to decide how I want to finish my draft. So I have my third pick, but I feel like I got my top 3 picks, which I really didn't expect to get, mostly just because of penguins. I thought that might go. So that kind of changed what my fourth one was going to be a lot. So I'll have to decide on that. But for my third pick, Joe made a joke before we started recording about how I didn't say no humans, because, humans are technically an animal. So he joked about bringing a human. I had a similar line of thinking, but not the exact same. I wanted to get as close to a human as possible for like the interaction, and like I thought it would be interesting. So I went with the bonobo monkey.
Okay.
The bonobo monkey is I could be wrong, but as far as I'm aware, it's the actual closest relative to humans, like DNA wise.
With the butt cheeks?
No, that's a baboon.
Oh yeah, you're right. Okay,
it's a baboon.
My bad.
So no, bonobo monkeys are extremely intelligent. Like they're the ones that can be like easily taught to use tools, and they got the thumbs. Like they are extremely intelligent. So I picked that because I thought it would be Yeah, there you go. There's the bonobo monkey. I thought it would be a lot of fun to interact with because they're very human-like. So you can maybe even like play some games with it and stuff. Like, you know, they're very smart. You know, they're the ones that you see, they'll have them like on a news story. They're doing like puzzles or something, you know, at the zoo where they're like fitting the shapes with I think they have the intelligence of like a first grader, honestly. Like they're very, very smart. But I
used to teach first grade. I don't know about very, very smart.
for a monkey's sake. Sure. But yeah, so I chose it for that, but I also chose it for a slightly selfish reason, which is that I wanted to have an excuse to tell this quick story about bonobo monkeys on the podcast, because it's peak comedy. And that is that I was at the San Diego Zoo one time. I was out there for a job for the summer, so I was just by myself. So I was just kind of roaming around seeing San Diego. So I went to the zoo. So I'm walking around the zoo by myself. Just drink that in for a minute. And I ended up in the bonobo monkey exhibit, which is a big glass exhibit. You know, they have a lot of space. They have like a jungle gym, all kinds of stuff. So I'm standing there. I'm looking through the glass. We're in like this little like cave walkthrough thing. So the exhibit is bigger, but the area of the glass that I'm looking through is in like this cave walkthrough thing. And there are two other families in there with me, both parents, and they each had little kids. I'm talking like maybe like 3, 4, 5 years old, that kind of range. So we're watching the monkeys, and they are roaming around, having a good time, doing monkey stuff, when all of a sudden, there's this male monkey that is like kind of hunched over on the grass on like the hill. And all of a sudden, this female monkey runs over and does like a legit barrel roll. Like she was like diving into like a bunker during the war or something. She does like a full barrel roll to get underneath the male monkey, and then he just starts going to town, like absolutely like a jackhammer trying to dig up the pavement, you know, on a highway remodel job, like going to town. And this mom, and if that wasn't funny enough, this mom next to me, who was like probably a little bit of an older mom, you know, to have kids that young, she just loses her, but she's like, oh my God. No. Oh my, she's like trying to cover her kid's eyes. And she's like, oh my God. She's like, how are they allowed to do that? How are they doing that? It's the zoo. And I'm like,
why would you let them do that?
It was like a full on, like, let me speak to your manager moment of like, she doesn't understand how these animals are like not being monitored more closely by the zoo. So she's like trying to cover both her kids' eyes, and her husband is losing his mind laughing, just dying. Like he is cracking up. She's freaking out. He's cracking up. Like easily top 5 moments of my life in terms of like peak comedy. Like it was the funniest thing ever. So for mostly that reason, the bonobo monkeys make their way onto my first date list.
Sure, yeah.
Because then I get to tell that story to the date, which is I feel like that's a great first date story. It's a hilarious story.
Yeah,
of course.
So that is my third. Now the toughest one, because like I said, I've got my first 3. I'm between a few, and I really don't know which direction to go, to be perfectly honest. So I have one that I think is a little too close to dolphin. I chose it because the same reason with dolphins, like you can interact with it. You could maybe like play with a ball or, you know, do different things like that. So like I thought that'd be cool, but I think it's a little too close to dolphin. Yeah, I don't want to say anything just in case, you know, in case Brandy might go that direction. I think I will trust my wife on this one because I did an actual ranking of my picks, and she recommended one for 4 that I kind of went a different direction, but I think I'm going to trust her on this one with what the people want because clearly I have no idea. So that is that I'm going to take otters, little sea otters.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah.
That's what I mouthed.
Sure.
When you were talking about it.
If you have ever seen otters at a zoo, they are extremely playful. They're like swimming the whole time. They play with little balls and stuff. They're actually funny because they look like I was just watching the Olympic swimming before. They look like Olympic swimmers because when they get close to the wall, they do like an actual like tuck spin to like push off the wall. I wonder if that's where humans got it for the Olympics. I wonder if they saw otters doing that and they were like, "Hey, you go faster that way." But
I like that.
yeah, but otters are absolutely adorable. You can have a blast hanging out watching. I know because I've watched otters at the zoo for like 20 minutes before. Just stood there at the the Turtleback Zoo. Shout out in New Jersey.
No, no
Watched
concept of
the
time. You're like,
otters.
how long have I been looking at these otters?
I
What
could
year is it?
I could stand there even longer. To be honest, 20 minutes was nothing. Those things are adorable. So that rounds out my draft. I ended up with penguins, hammerhead sharks, bonobo monkeys, and otters. So I definitely had a water theme to mine.
Yeah.
So Joe, you can go ahead with your final pick.
Yeah, I mean, I've got my my sea creature, my dolphins. I got my farm animal, my pig. I've got my reptile, the turtle. My last one, an amphibian to round out this list. And I saved this one for last because I didn't think anyone else was going to get it. A little bit more obscure of an animal. We've got an axolotl.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Interesting choice.
Just, a super unique looking animal. Very interesting to look at. I actually saw them earlier today at the aquarium. And I actually did not have them on my list previously as I was brainstorming this week until I saw them and I was like, oh wait, these are really cool to look at. This is something that would be like a very interesting talking point on a first date. And they're pretty active animals as well. They're not just gonna like sit there or anything. They swim around and just everything about them is very unique in the way they look, the way they move, all that kind of stuff. So I felt like that rounded out my list really nicely.
So my question is, a lot of the stuff has been like, animals we would interact with. I think pretty much all of them up to this point, other than fireflies, but Brandy had a very good, reason for that. Are you planning to just like, are you just gonna plop it down on the table? What's the actual strategy with the axolotl?
So I actually have no idea if one can like really play with an axolotl.
I don't
Um,
think so.
yeah, I wouldn't think so. But the fact that they are amphibians also adds a different element to them. The fact that they exist both in the water and on land. So some kind of like what's it called when you have a terrarium and a aquarium together?
A Terrarium
Not a clue.
aquarium.
Yeah, that one. That's the
That actually
scientific
might
term.
be it.
I'm basically imagining this as some kind of like axolotl ecosystem where that has both a land section and a water
Sure.
section, and
Yeah.
we can watch a small group of axolotli, axolutes. I don't really
Axolotls.
Well, the problem
I
is
don't really know
you'd be leaving the L off at the end of it, all those. So I'm pretty sure it would just be axolotls.
axolotls.
Yeah, because that's the only one that has an
That's
L in it.
yeah, but that's way less fun.
That is less fun. I will give you that.
I like axoloti the best. Anyway, whatever it is, kind of watching them, a group of them, maybe transition from land to water, all that kind of stuff. And, obviously you don't need to play with everything. A lot of the ones before we could have played with. So I chose not to on this one. What are you laughing at?
Transition from land to water? You mean just walk? just walk out of the water? You said it was like you said it like it was going through some type of like like it was a Pokemon and it was gonna come out of the water and like
evolving.
It
can walk on land now.
I've never seen
it's just walking. That's every time for the rest of my life that I get out of a pool. I'm going to tell people that I'm transitioning from the pool to land. I'm gonna have it be like a whole to do. I will say, in the spirit of the fact that this is a competition, it's a draft we're trying to win. I thought you had a really strong first 3 rounds. I liked what you did. You might have went a bit rogue there. Axolotls are cool, but like, are they cool enough for a first date? Like, is that really like, I don't know. I feel like you're going to look at it for like a minute and then be like, all right, I'm over that.
I saw them earlier today and I looked at them for more than a minute and I was not over it. And there weren't even like that many of them. They didn't have that big of an enclosure here. Like this could be something way cooler in like a park setting with, a bigger area where they can go back and forth.
Okay.
I also feel like they're kind of trendy right now where I'm seeing them pop up a lot online.
Sure.
TikToks, people making enclosures and stuff. So
I
feel
didn't know.
like there would be a certain group of people, where if you showed up with an axolotl, they would be like, this is the date. This is the last date. I'm
Sure.
ever going on.
I didn't even know
Because like
they
there's those
existed.
people that are so into them.
Yeah, I didn't know they existed until just a few years ago. Like I'd never seen
Me
this
neither.
thing before. Yeah, and then I was like, oh, that's a weird looking thing.
They're
What
neat.
is it?
They
Yeah,
are very weird looking. They are definitely weird looking. That is
They're just
definitely a good
face.
description. They kind of look like what they remind me of, honestly, because I pulled up some, because I know what an axolotl is, but I wanted to have a picture to like look at. And to me, they kind of look like if you asked like a 4-year-old to draw a lizard. That's kind of what an axolotl looks
Yes.
like, I feel like.
Oh,
Yes.
I
yes.
learned today that they are like salamanders. They're
Yeah.
related to salamanders, or they're part of the salamander.
Sure, I probably would have guessed that.
You learned a lot today.
You did. You had a very
Dude,
educational day.
I spent like 4 hours at the Camden Adventure Aquarium.
Yeah, it's a good one. Did you see the hippos? Those were always my favorite at the aquarium.
I did. I saw the hippos. We got since Jason works there. We got a. It was basically like a backstage tour, but it was an upstairs tour. So we got to stand up
Oh.
top of the big enclosure, the one that has the hammerhead and stuff like that, and we got to look in from the top. Where the employee only area, which was a very interesting experience.
That sounds pretty cool.
Nice.
Did you do the shark walk?
Like the tunnel.
No, there's
The
they have the
rope
rope
thing.
walk.
Oh,
that
the
goes over-
rope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Did
Yeah.
that. I hadn't been to that aquarium since elementary school, so
Me
it was,
neither.
it was
Yeah, it's a good
interesting.
one. I went there a few times. Shout out Jason. We just gave you a nice free advertisement for the aquarium,
Yeah.
so you better be listening to the podcast. All right, so that rounds out Joe's team. He ends up with piglets, dolphins, a giant tortoise, and axolotl. So that is his finalized first date or blind date team. Brandy, you have your fourth pick now, and that will round out the draft.
Right. So with my fourth pick, I'm also going a little rogue from the idea of the rest of my team. You know, how the things I've had so far have been kind of practical and I've had a use for them or
Sure.
made a part of the date. My last pick is more real life, like something I would bring on a first date. And my picture of this date is that me and the other person that are showing up on the date were both given the memo to bring animals
Okay,
on the blind date.
sure.
And very much like my life in real life, I probably forgot. So I'm imagining we're going to this date in the park and we're both supposed to bring animals. Completely forgot, so I just caught a pigeon and just brought it with me. Just so it looked like maybe I didn't forget, you know, but I have it there to show it to them. And I'm like, hey, I did the thing. I tried.
I had literally
but,
no
yeah.
idea where you were going with that.
That's really funny.
That is funny. That is good. I had no idea where that was going, but I think you managed to reel it in pretty well, because that actually is pretty funny. Because now I'm imagining you, because that's not like an easy task. So now I'm
just
imagining
holding
you.
a wild pigeon, like
Not even. I'm imagining you like walking to this date and you're like, oh crap. And then I'm looking at you like trying to catch a wild pigeon, because that can't be easy. Like that can't,
No.
you know. So that is a hilarious thought. I will say too, I noticed before you said your last pick, which I guess it kind of still is, because you're like just randomly catching it and then bringing it with you. Your first three picks, you kind of went like the animal slave route. Like you had fireflies to fly around in a jar as your light source. You had baby goats
Yeah.
to do yoga on. And then you had raccoons to clean up all your trash. So you're like, how can I employ some animals without paying them? Not that they'd have any use for money, but
You hear that, viewers? Don't vote for her. She's an exploiter. of
she
animals.
is an animal exploitation expert. That is the exact route that her brain went when
I am just now realizing this, and I'm hurt and appalled at myself and my own choices. And I will be better. I'll just go to the park and look at some things, because apparently that's a better option.
Stay tuned for the midweek extra episode where Brandy issues a national apology
Yeah.
for her horrible animal practices. Her horrible hypothetical animal practices.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry in advance.
All right, so Brandy has fireflies, baby goats, raccoon, and pigeon, and a random pigeon that she caught on the way to the date, which I think actually helps you. So those are the teams. As always, I'll have the voting online. I think that episode actually came together better than I thought it would because there wasn't anywhere near as much stepping on toes. Like I thought there was going to be at least like 5 or 6 picks of overlap, but it seemed like really penguins, maybe pigs if you want to count that, just because I had it on my list, and then maybe dolphins. Like it seemed like a lot of them were really different. We kind of went different routes.
I think it really helped that we cut it down to 4 picks. That's probably why.
I think that definitely played a part. We were going to do 5 again, and then I was thinking about, I did my list, and I kind of ran out a lot quicker than I thought. So I was like, because I really kind of forced some, like, because I have some on here like giraffe, seal, beaver, elephant, where I was like, they're like cool animals, but like, you know what I mean? Like they're not special for like a blind date or anything. So it was just kind of me trying to like have options in case you guys picked, penguins and monkey and otters and stuff. Couple of the other ones. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I also had reindeer. Because I was like, horseback riding, that's people do that on dates, but I was like, that's boring. Maybe you could ride a reindeer. And then I was thinking about it a little more and I was like, that seems kind of dangerous. So I was over here Googling, like, can you ride reindeer? Is it allowed? Does it hurt them? So I decided not to go with reindeer. I was thinking of the animals.
So more slave labor, though.
Yeah.
There's a theme on that team. Like a couple of the other ones I had that I was kind of torn between for that last pick. Sugar gliders. I don't know if you ever played with sugar gliders. They are a lot of fun. Really cute.
I used to own one.
Yeah. You could have them run up on your like shoulder and then glide off, or they could glide from a tree onto you.
I made a little pouch with a shoelace that I would wear as a necklace, and I would keep my sugar glider in my pouch as I was like out and about and at the grocery store. He would just hang out in there. He loved it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I had a 17-year-old newly licensed me was convinced by a girl that I wanted to be more than friends with to drive her an hour to pick up sugar gliders that she bought off Craigslist.
Oh.
So that was
solid.
Honestly, it was worth it for the sugar gliders because then we went back to her house and played with them for a while, and they were super cool. Like it was totally worth it.
My friend Joe found them in his garage.
Not me.
Not
different
you.
Joe.
Not this Joe. Different Joe.
Let's see. I had sea turtles on there. Definitely different than tortoise. Definitely a whole different experience.
Yeah. Land, sea.
What else did I have on there? I had dolphin. I had pig, ones that you picked. I had sloth because there seems to be like I don't know if it was Kristen Bell saying it like multiple times on national TV, but like there's some crazy like sloth craze with like younger women now that like they're like the cutest thing.
I thought about sloth because of that exact reason.
Yes,
and I was like, well,
I've never thought of sloths as like an especially cute animal, but apparently that's like a craze right now.
Me neither.
I'm surprised snake wasn't picked.
I had corn snake on my list, and then Mike used that as a comparison before we started the podcast for an example of, well, we could do something like this, but not do something like this when we were going over some of the rules. And since you specifically said corn snake, I decided not to go with it.
I had the same thing. I had snakes on mine, but I figured once I picked sharks, I couldn't also do snakes because that's like another like semi kind of. I guess corn snake specifically would have been fine because it's not dangerous at all. But I felt like I kind of pictured this to be all with the same girl. Like for me, obviously it would be a girl. I kind of pictured it like as the same girl. So like I didn't want to do like 2 things that would have a low chance of success. I felt
Are you going on one blind date with one person and doing all of these animal activities on that one blind date?
Well, no. So I pictured it like I was getting 4 choices at like what I would bring on this one blind date. So I felt like I like having a shark and a snake would kind of give me like a 50% chance at not getting a second date, because I feel like like it's the amount of people that would be into that is very low. Like I'm sure there's plenty of women out there that are super into that stuff, but I feel like it's definitely a lower percentage than penguins and otters. Like everybody loves penguins and otters. Yeah. So I figured I should play it a little more safe and like just have one kind of extreme animal. That was the line of thinking for that. But all right, so we are kind of running towards what I try to keep as the time limit here. So if you are enjoying this podcast, I know exactly what you can do. You can hop on to the app and give us a 5-star rating. Doesn't matter what you say in the comment. You could talk about the weather. You could say that you hate the sound of my voice. What matters is the 5 stars. Please don't say you hate the sound of my voice. That would actually be really bad. The 5 stars is what matters, though. It really helps us out a lot with the algorithm and everything to get out, get seen by more people. And it takes you under 30 seconds. It's a super simple process. We would really appreciate it. Also, I'm going to put this in from now on. If you think you have a good idea for a draft category, I am more than open to hearing viewer suggestions. You can shoot me an email at ridiculouslyseriousPodcast@gmail.com. So the name of the podcast, ridiculouslyseriousPodcast@gmail.com. So, like I said, you have any ideas, shoot me an email. I will definitely read them all. I don't think I'm going to be inundated with emails at this point in our timeline for this show. So shoot them on over. But that is all we have for today. Don't forget to vote. It helps us out with better content because we can have a little bit more, interaction with the fans. Thank you for listening, and we will be back next week.